Hi guys, welcome back. It's been a lousy few weeks. Doesn't look like anything's getting any better anytime soon with this COVID-19 crap that we've got going on. And I just have not had much going on here to share with you guys, unfortunately. I got a couple of things in here right now, a couple of jobs, and both of them are from other shops. One is a Honda Accord. I'm not going to go into that one. It's kind of boring. It's has to do with a TSB issue with a P1682. I believe Keith DeFazio, New Level, did a video on this at some point. I'm pretty sure I remember seeing something on his channel about this car. In any case, I have a Caddy here that's from another shop as well, and I thought that it might be interesting for some of you guys. If you guys don't like these sort of videos where I'm not actually working on the car and taking you through here as we're doing it, then maybe it's another video for you. I don't know, but it's just something I thought was interesting. Anyway, with this thing, it came in for a no start. I do not know any kind of history on this car, what they did to it. I believe I have some still photos that I'm going to include in here. I think that I saved them on my phone, and we'll go through it from there. But in any case, we had codes in here. Immediately when I checked the car, I did have a code in here. I'm not sure how they managed to put all of these parts into this vehicle and overlook the actual problem. I really don't know what kind of troubleshooting they were performing, and I'm not trying to badmouth anybody. Okay, guys, I'm just being honest here. The car was a no start. It was a crank no start. The car got a fuel pump, it got an ignition switch, and it got multiple other components put into it for this no start. What I noticed when I got, I'll show you guys actually. Let me see if I can take you with me. Most of it's buttoned up at this point, but if you look down here, the harness, the computer's out, loose. The whole entirety of the wiring harness was exposed on this car. I still have to tape up some of it over here, but everything, all underneath here, was all exposed, everything, under the air box and such. And then if we go to the back, you can see that the back seat is out and the fuse box, and there's a relay box there, and yeah, so a whole lot of stuff going on here inside the car. You can see that it's apart. So as you can see, there was a gaggle of things removed and tampered with and whatever. So as I usually do, I try to make a plan with something, especially something like this that has had a lot of stuff done to it and changed on it, and to no avail. It's not fixed. What I want to do is start with basics. What are our options? I mean, when I do these videos, I do it with a purpose to share with you guys, and I also hope that you guys gain something out of it. Okay, so when I say that, what I mean is, put yourself in my position. This car came to you. What's your initial thoughts on the car? What do you do first to get direction? You can do a number of things. You could put a fuel pressure gauge on it. You can check spark. You can check injector pulse. You can check 5-volt reference. You can check inside the car, turn the key on, see if the check engine light is on. You can hook up a scan tool. There's a multitude of things you can do here. Some of the guys in the industry, like, say they use a phrase called go for the low-hanging fruit, meaning go for the easiest things first. That's perfectly sensible. That's something I've always tried to do. You don't want to go for the most difficult things, like pulling a dashboard out or something, when you can check something quick outside first, right? And that's just obviously an example, but you get what I'm saying. So my thing is, what I decided to do was, before I do anything else, is hook up a scan tool. Do I have communication? Do I have any codes in any of the modules that will lead me to what may be the cause of the no start on this car. And that was my thing. I hooked up, and yes, I had a code. I had a P1682. That is for an ignition circuit on the vehicle. And what I'll show you, okay, I actually marked it out on here, so I'll bring it up and show you. Ignition voltage, pin 13 at your ECM, connector C3, I believe, C2, C2, okay? That's the circuit that we're having an issue with. So right off the bat, we have some sort of direction that looks like it's going to be good to going, okay? First thing I do after I scan it is I want to see if it starts. And this thing cranked and it wanted to start. Actually did start and then shut off. It was almost like it was in theft, if that makes sense to some of you guys. It had a feeling like it was in theft, right? Like the injectors were firing for a second and then cutting off. It was not the case, however, but it had that initial feel to it, okay? Knowing that I have a code in here for that ignition circuit, the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to verify my circuit. It's just common sense at this point. We have a 1682, which is telling us ignition fault. I actually did clear the code, and I wanted to see if it returns immediately, because when you turn the key on, if this is a hard failure, this is going to come right back if you have no voltage there. When I cleared it, that code absolutely never went away. It just came right back. Okay, didn't have to shut the key off, cycle it, nothing. It comes right back. So I know I have a hard failure. So now I get my diagram, as you just saw. I want to see where it originates, so I do trace the diagram. Okay, and this is page 5 and this is page 1. So I'm just going to show you, because I'm not running. This is just going to run through all the pages back to page 1. And if you look here, I hope you can see this. The one that's highlighted, it goes to the ECM crank fuse, 15 amp underhood fuse block. It gets power from the powertrain relay to the fuse, out of the fuse block to the PCM. Simple circuit. Difficult vehicle, North Star, right? 09, by the way, Cadillac North Star. VIN Y, if anybody really cares. And once I have the diagram, I know the circuit. I see that it's a pretty simple circuit here. There's nothing complicated, really. The PCM is already taken out for me. The airbox is already removed. I have access. I find my pin. I go to it. I check it for power. I have nothing. So at that point, I go to the fuse box, and what I did was I probed in to the wire at the PCM, and I simply laid my test light inside here, okay, grounded obviously, the other side, and let it sit. I went over to the fuse box, and when I touched the fuse box, because my intention actually was to pull the fuse box out if, if I saw something wrong. I got my other test light, I went to the fuse box, I touched the fuse on both sides, it lit. And what I noticed is as I touched the fuse and the test light lit, my other test light that was probed in lit. So, what happened? Well, believe it or not, it was not a fuse box issue. These things did have issues with the fuse boxes, by the way, with that circuit too. The fuse, even though you can't see it here, I know you're not going to be able to see it because I can't see it in person. That fuse is blown, is damaged internally. And if you press on it, you make a connection. It obviously supplies voltage, okay? It makes a connection. So I was like, wow, okay. Changed the fuse and had power here. And I noted, as I said, the entire wiring harness in this car was exposed. There were some portions, obviously, that were still taped, difficult to get to, but this thing was pretty much exposed. Here's some of the loom that I took out, okay? This is just a part of it, obviously. I redid it, but it's garbage. Anyway, I started moving the harness around, And when I moved the harness around, that test light started to flicker. So what is that telling me? Well, it's telling me that we have a circuit problem, obviously. And wherever it was rubbing, most likely had caused the fuse to pop, right? What I did was I traced the wire from the fuse block, which I did remove, and disconnected the connector on it. And I did want to check all my pins for retention and go through everything, obviously, because I don't want to get burned with something like a bad connection. So I went through all that, checked it, verified everything is good, and load tested the circuit. And what I found was I had a break someplace up in the area where, underneath, like with the throttle body area. So instead of trying to literally, rip everything apart here, I ran a new lead from the fuse box out to the other end of the wire where I knew it was good going to the computer, soldered everything, heat shrinked it, and put everything back in the loom, which this took some time because this thing is a pain in the ass to work on. For any of you guys that work on North Stars or any of these cars, you know how tight they are to get in there and bang my hand up a little bit. And I mean, it's a tight car to work on. But once I did that, and I then put everything back in the loom nice and neat where it goes and closed everything back up, and I retested, obviously, with my scan tool. My code is now gone. I have power at the PCM, and I'm able to run the vehicle. So the point of this video, more than anything else, is that I've said it. I probably sound like a broken record to you guys by now, but if you have a vehicle that you have a no start, you have a whatever, start with the basics. And when you have direction, go with the direction you found. You have a code here that's telling you what the issue is. You lost an ignition circuit. This thing, realistically, I mean, it's kind of messed up because if you would have just popped a fuse in here and drove it for a little while, you would have had another problem because the original problem wasn't fixed. The root cause wasn't fixed. But do things the right way. If you're going to check something, you're going to check a power circuit, load test it. You're going to check a ground, load test it. You're not sure about pin retention, check it, verify it. I mean, it takes a second, it takes, a few minutes, whatever. But whatever time it takes, it's better than having the car come back to you and saying it's doing the same thing or you didn't fix it right or whatever. This problem was somehow overlooked. I don't know how, like I said, because they were obviously putting parts in it and, thinking that it was a fuel delivery issue, thinking that it was an ignition switch. I believe they put an ignition switch in it because it said ignition in the code description. But simple research, Identifix, Mitchell, old data, whatever you use, go into the code description, the criteria, and see what circuit they're looking. What is that circuit for? What is it looking for? Why is it setting the code? And go from there. You have to have direction. Don't start slinging parts. I mean, you're just going to get yourself in deeper, money-wise, and you're going to get yourself in deeper by tearing the car apart. And I don't know. In any case, it's running. I'll start it up, show you guys it runs. All fixed. All right. The other thing that burns me a little bit with this car is that I forgot to mention one thing. When I initially got the vehicle in, I noticed the back seat out of it, and the battery's obviously in the back, under the back seat. These things, side terminals, I always check them before I start diagnosing anything. That's my thing with these GMs especially. I always check the terminals for being tight. I don't want any voltage drop issues when I'm making tests. And the positive cable, the bolt was completely stripped out. The cable was completely loose. So that is a no-go for me. I changed the bolt out, before I did anything else. Always stick to basics. Don't get burned on something like that because, obviously you can, you know, you can start making tests and have a bad connection to the battery, you'll drive yourself crazy. Why am I getting 8 volts? Why is it working now? Why is it, you know what I mean? Don't let that get you. So always stick with basics. Always go through, you know, to conclusion. If you see something you don't like, see something that doesn't fit, find out what's going on with that before you just ditch it and move on to the next thing. If you have a problem, catch it before it becomes a deeper rabbit hole. Like I said, this is nothing crazy exciting. I thought it might be interesting to some guys, you know, thought process, what have you. Not a difficult diagnosis by any stretch. Probably knew what was wrong with the car in 5 minutes, but finding the actual issue and fixing it and all that and getting it, that's what took the time. You know, I guess I could have done like some places and run a wire across the top of the engine and, you know, taped it together or wire nutted it or whatever, but that's not what we do. So I want to do it right, make sure it's out, you know, fixed and not coming back. At least not for that problem. It is a North Star, so I'm sure it'll be back at some point for something, but not for that circuit. So I hope all you guys are well. You know, I think about everything that's going on. I'm thinking about all you guys, the viewers and families, and you know, this craziness has impacted all of us in a big way. We're all in trouble, you know, financially, and some of us, you know, health-wise. And you know, my wife, as some of you guys know, is a funeral director, and this is no joke, guys. You know, I got a friend, a very close friend of mine, who's a doctor. This is no joke. This is real deal. I still see people online saying that it's all fake. It's not fake. This is real as it gets. Okay, maybe some guys are not being, some people are not seeing that because they're not around it. They're in a different area. I'm in the heart of this crap, pretty close to it at least. We're in Jersey. New York is the hotbed for this mess. You know what I mean? So yeah, if anybody out there thinks it's fake, it's not fake. There's a real deal sickness going around that you know, potentially could cause lives to end. So try to be safe. Try to, you know, do the right thing. Stay inside if you can. Obviously, I'm distancing myself more than I normally would from people. Trying to be safe because I do not want to get infected with this crap, or worse yet, get my wife sick or get my, you know, family sick, or you know what I mean. So we're trying to do the right thing. We're taking cars in. I'm not really around anybody. I'm down here by myself. My partner's out home. So any work that we are getting, which is minimal, you know, trying to deal with. But it's rough. It's really lousy right now, and I'm hoping everybody hangs in, including ourselves here, and hope everybody gets through this and comes out better on the other side, because this is just craziness, guys. I don't know. I really hope all you guys are being safe, and you know, I'm sorry about the lack of contribution of videos lately, but like I said, there's really not a lot to share. The last thing I think I put up was I don't even know, it's been a couple of weeks, probably the Mustang or the Chevelle. I don't even remember. But we've been sitting here most of the time doing pretty much nothing. So I had a little time this evening. I didn't feel like going home just yet. I finished the Caddy, aside from a couple of pieces of tape that I still have to add and the harness here. But I wanted to reach out to you guys, say hello, share the experience with the Cadillac that we got here, and wish everybody well. And you know, I appreciate you guys. Some of you guys reached out to me to check on me, and it got me, man. That's I really appreciate it. You know, real nice of you guys to think of us. You know, sometimes we're on YouTube, and you know, we do these videos and stuff, and I think sometimes we forget that you know, we do make some sort of impact, I think, with some of you guys, and I think that's cool. So appreciate the thoughts, well wishes, and all that. And we're okay. We're hanging in as far as health-wise, which is more important than anything else. If we can hang in, you know, if we could hang in the other way, It'd be nice. So we'll see what happens. But it's rough right now, guys. And you know, we're not alone. So it's the whole country's the whole world's having a hard time. Hopefully it gets better soon. I'll keep you guys posted, and I'm hoping I get something in here of interest that I can share with you soon. But don't hold your breath. It's been pretty lousy. I'm gonna go. I think I'm gonna go home and eat something and relax. And I'll be here tomorrow. I don't even know what's today. Friday. Today's Friday. I'll be back down here tomorrow. We'll see what comes of it, and hopefully we have some work. I don't know. You guys have a great night. Stay safe, please. Keep your family safe, and stay tuned. See you later.